Hello, and welcome to Sports Update. We'll be looking at the latest sports news from around the region and beyond. I'm Braden Parks.
We'll also look at college football across the nation and check out the latest happenings in professional sports. I'm Colin Hill, and this is Sports Update on EUTV.
Some very crucial games happening for the Crusaders this past week.
Yeah, they won the women's soccer, winning their first ever postseason game that they've played in. Young program, really making some noise in the Hart Conference tournament. And then this week they've got an unbeaten Central Methodist team that they're going to have to take down to make it to the finals.
And the Crusader football team playing a very important game this weekend that I'll discuss here in a minute. The Evangel Crusaders lost to the Central Methodist Eagles on Saturday to fall to 8-2. The Crusaders' offense struggled early, giving up 2 turnovers, creating an early 14-0 deficit within minutes. The Evangel Crusaders would earn their only touchdown on Saturday via turnover in the first quarter. An interception from Sam Morton set up the 1-yard punch from Darius Lee to make the score 14-17. From there, the same issues would plague the Crusaders for the rest of the game, as they ended up turning the ball over 7 times, allowing for an additional 4 touchdowns to lose 42-7.
Crusader volleyball saw their season come to a tragic end Saturday in the conference quarterfinal match against the Mount Mercy Mustangs. Evangel started out hot, hitting 545 in the first set, which they won easily 25-15. But the changing of sets brought the changing of power as the Mustangs turned the tables on the crew and took a 2-1 lead. Evangel showed signs of life in the 4th set and forced a 5th. However, the momentum didn't carry over as Mount Mercy prevailed 3-2. In the absence of Tori Lowry, senior Kristen Johnson had 15 kills, and freshman Gabby Massengale had 3 blocks in the loss. Lady Crusader basketball faced off for the first time this season against rival College of the Ozarks in Branson. Evangel dug themselves into a hole when the offense only managed 18 first-half points. The Crusaders refused to go down quietly, though, as they stormed back from down 12 on 2 separate occasions to make the final minute interesting. But the Lady Bobcats made their free throws and held on for a 60-56 win. Brianna Votes scored 17 in the loss. Evangel will now head home for their opener on Tuesday.
The Evangel men's basketball team defeated William Baptist on Saturday to even the record out at 2-2. The Crusaders found themselves behind early, but were able to secure a narrow 2-point lead headed into halftime. In the second half, the Crusaders and Eagles remained neck and neck until Josh Pritchard was able to come through with 2 crucial 3-pointers to put the Crusaders in a substantial lead within the last 8 minutes of the game. Guard Nate Davis nearly notched a double-double, scoring 22 points and dishing out 8 assists. Center Pavel Antonov also put up double digits, scoring 15 points and contributing 3 blocks. Final score, 79-64 Evangel. In their first postseason game, the Lady Crusaders defeated the Missouri Valley Vikings to advance to the Hart postseason semifinals. Both teams initially had some issues finding their rhythm in the first half and thus remained scoreless until the 12th minute when forward Bailey Biffert launched a 25-yard pass, setting up an Allison Reynolds goal to give the Lady Crusaders their first point of the match. However, the Vikings would answer just before intermission with a goal of their own coming off of a corner kick. It wasn't until the 59th minute when Reynolds would feed Amber Ellis the tie-breaking ball to give Evangel the 2-1 edge over Missouri Valley. The Lady Crusaders played well lockdown defense for the remainder of the match to defeat the Vikings 2-1.
It was a historic weekend for the Evangel cross country team this weekend in Fayette, Missouri. The second place finish for the Crusaders marked their highest finish under Coach Austin Jacobs. As usual, 2 Crusader runners stole the show as Shane Burns and Duncan Gakuru finished 2nd and 4th respectively over the 8K course, with teammate Grant DeWitt not far behind, finishing 12th. Both Burns and Gakuru's finishes should place them in the NNAIA National Championships. The team and individuals will have to wait until Tuesday to see if they will be headed to the National Championship.
So some very influential, very important games happening this last weekend.
Yeah, and the cross-country team, it's nice to see them get some recognition. They've done really well all season, and those two runners that we mentioned, Mr. Burns and Mr. Gakuru, those guys are fast.
If there's some fast guys, for sure. Well, up next, we will be talking with the women's soccer coach, Bruce Deaton, as they prepare for the Heart of America Conference semifinals.
We'll be right back.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchool.com.
How do we learn? We learn from study, practice, and concentration. We learn from falling down and from getting back up. We learn from those who have gone before us. We learn from each other. And we learn from looking inside ourselves. And as we learn to learn, we grasp more than just knowledge. We learn the wisdom to apply it. Because learning is more than discovering how to do what we do. It's also discovering why we do it. Evangel University.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 6 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
I'm here with the women's head soccer coach, Coach Deaton, and you guys are coming off your program's first ever postseason victory. Kind of talk about how that game went and what was going through your mind as the clock's running down in the second half, and you've got a feeling that, hey, we're going to win this thing.
Well, this was our first postseason appearance. This year was our fourth year of the program and first time in the postseason. And so we were fortunate to be able to finish as one of the top 4 seeds in the conference, so we were able to host, and obviously that meant playing the 5th seed here at home. We got up on them. They were able to get an equalizing goal before halftime, so we went into the halftime really just evened up, knowing there was 45 more minutes to go. We made an adjustment at halftime to try to keep their outside backs deeper. So we switched to a third forward. We were able to play a ball very direct into one of those forwards who beat the keeper to put us up at 2-1 with 30 minutes left in the game. And so you age a lot in 30 minutes, because the clock never runs slower than that. And we really did an incredible job of defending those last 30 minutes. And so that really was what it ended up. We dropped back a little bit to defend through that portion of it. They had a couple good opportunities. Our keeper came up really big a time or two, and we were able to keep them out of the back of the net those last 30 minutes and claim our first ever win, and we get to play another day. So.
Talk about how this season has gone for you. You guys started off the year, you lost your first 3 matches, and since then you've won 11 of your, now 12 of your last, I think it's 16 matches. What changed after those first 3 games?
Well, we purposefully played a little bit harder schedule starting off. I mean, we started the season with a team that's ranked 4th in the nation right now, with the all-time leading scorer in the NAIA history, a young lady who played in France this summer with her national team, and did an amazing job against them. We dropped that game 1-0. We lost the next game 2-0, and we lost the third 1-0. Just weren't able to find our scoring mark at that point in time. Since then we've put a ball in the back of the net a few times. I mean, with Saturday's 2 goals, we hit our 50th of the season. We've conceded 20. Overall we're 11-5-2, but of the 5 losses that we've had, we've lost 3 times to teams that are nationally ranked in the top 20. Those 2 games in Louisiana, I thought we were the better side. Just didn't find we found the keeper more often than we found the back of the net. So, but it's been, we just pressed down. We knew that what the team was like. We knew that we were a very attacking focused team, and once we started putting the ball in the back of the net, it would really open up from there.
For those of us who haven't been a coach, take us inside your head during a game. What are you looking at? What are you looking for in the other team, in your own team? What are you looking at during a game?
Well, one of our big keys is that we want the ball. I mean, we defend for only one reason. We defend to have the ball at our feet. And so we're looking for where are the spaces that we can attack. We're also looking to see how are they playing in possession, what players are getting up the field. And that's one of the things that my assistant and I talked about right before halftime, is that on Saturday, their backs were getting up a little bit higher than we wanted to. And in order to push them further back the field, we needed to make an adjustment to the number of players we play up. And so you're looking at what's the tendencies of your team, the team that you're playing against, what are you doing effectively, and what adjustments can be made during the halftime. Obviously, you don't get that time out, but you have to make adjustments on the fly. And when you get to the middle of the game at halftime, you can make those formational adjustments. Our style of play is very much an attacking style, and we're going to always stay there, and we're going to defend. We've been very good defending this year, but we defend so we can get the ball back and attack.
Yeah. We all see the product that you guys put out on the field. It's been great this year, but we know that there's a whole lot more that goes into it than just the physical preparation. There's that mental side of things. Take us through what a week looks like for you and your assistant coaching staff, putting together a game plan. What does that look like for you?
Well, one of the things in our conference, we're required to share film. So we look at our opponents, we look at what they're going to try to do against us. And we've played everybody now. Now that we're in the conference tournament, we've played everybody at least once. So we're going to look at, last week we trained the tendencies that we saw from Missouri Valley, and we wanted to play a very specific way and defend them a specific way and attack them a specific way. So we talked through that. And we've talked an awful lot too about the firsts, because this year has been a season of first. I mean, last week we received votes in the national poll, and so now we are closing in on getting into the potential of ranking in the top 25 nationally, which is somewhat unheard of for a program as young as ours. So we've kind of felt like we should have been there already, and hadn't gotten there. And so we've talked a lot about that. We just got to keep on doing what we need to keep on doing. So,
all right. So there's one thing that I have to ask you about. I look at every other coach that I've seen in soccer. They all come out in like their team soccer uniform, maybe some cleats. You're out there in a sport jacket, very nice. Where did that come from?
Well, I mean, I'm a true purist of the game. Okay, when you look at the top coaches around the world, the top managers around the world, they're dressed up for it. I also had a pretty lengthy newspaper marketing career, and one of the things that has always been instilled in my head was that the most important meetings of the day, that you're prepared for those, you're dressed for those. And you know what, to me, when I step on the field with my team, that is absolutely the most important meeting that I have that day. And it's about decorum. The game's about decorum, and it's just kind of, that gives me a little bit of different. Sometimes it helps me stay a little bit more calm on the sidelines. It's like, okay, I'm dressed this way, I probably need to be a little bit more calm and not get so frustrated about something. So that's where it came from. So.
All right, well, thanks for being here, Coach.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Coming up, we will be reviewing college football, Patrick Mahomes' return, and Evangel's upcoming games. Stay tuned.
You can't keep true faith inside a church. You can't confine it to a few hours, days, or weeks. You can't share it with some people and hide it from others. You can't leave it on the side of the road to come back for it when you think you will need it later. True faith will shine through in everything you do, wherever you are, and everything you do will improve because of it, because everything we do grows out of it. Evangel University.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
I spy something beginning with S.
Snow?
No.
Snow-covered trees.
Nothing to do with snow.
Head outside to discover incredible animals and beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure.
Wow.
So grab your loved ones.
Don't even.
And explore a world of possibilities.
Come on, this way.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you.
Catch all the HD broadcasts of Evangel Sports on EUTV through livestream.com. EUTV features weekly programs like Sports Update and Newswatch Today. You can also see award-winning student films from Evangel filmmakers. Evangel University Television broadcasts to Evangel dorms on channels 12 and 35-1. You can also find EUTV on Mediacom Channel 84 in Springfield. And now, EUTV is on livestream.com, broadcasting on the web 24 hours a day. So check it out. Go to livestream.com, enter EUTV in the search box, and click on the EU icon. EUTV, the home of edutainment.
All eyes in the college football world turned to Tuscaloosa, Alabama Saturday when the Tigers from LSU paid the Crimson Tide a visit. The first half was dominated by LSU as the Tigers forced 2 Bama turnovers and had the third-ranked Crimson Tide down 20 at the half. However, Alabama came out on a mission in the second half as they dropped 28 on a stellar LSU defense and gave up only 13. But it wasn't enough as number 2 LSU defeated number 3 Alabama 46-41. Joe Burrow may have solidified himself as the Heisman frontrunner as he went 31 of 39 for 393 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire also totaled 180 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns in the win.
The Minnesota Golden Gophers had not defeated a top 5 team on home turf since 1977. But on Saturday, they delivered Penn State their first loss of the season. Minnesota quarterback Tanner Morgan went 18 for 20 on Saturday, logging 339 yards with 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. The Golden Gophers led the Lions the entire game with 461 offensive yards against a defense that averaged only 28 yards per game. Following the win, the Golden Gophers ascended from 17th overall to 7th overall as the Lions fell from 4th to 9th. Final score 31-26 Minnesota. So some very important games this week in college sports, kind of shakes things up.
Yeah, the number 3 and number 4 teams with Penn State and Alabama going down, it really shakes up the college football playoff rankings.
For sure, and then talking about, how LSU may become the first front runner or may move to number 1 over Ohio State.
Yeah, that's what's projected, and really Joe Burrow, he's been terrific this year. He's completing 80% of his passes. And so when you look at it, Saturday was almost like an off day for him because he completed less than 80% of his passes.
And him moving up to be the front runner in the Heisman race is kind of surprising, as, you know, in the first few games of the year, we were talking about Tua Tagovailoa, talking about Jalen Hurts, and he's really kind of solidified himself as a very strong front runner.
And not only for the Heisman, but for the #1 pick in the draft as well.
For sure, for sure. But now let's take a look at some more professional sports. On Sunday, the reigning MVP, Patrick Mahomes, returned to the Kansas City Chiefs for the first time since dislocating his knee in Denver during Week 7. However, with the return of the ace, the Chiefs were still unable to secure the win against the Tennessee Titans. After trading touchdowns and field goals back and forth, the Chiefs found themselves leading 32-27 while lining up for a last-minute, game-sealing field goal. However, after a botched snap and an intentional grounding penalty, the Titans were able to take over on their own 40-yard line with 1:27 left in regulation. From there, they scored a quick touchdown and a 2-point conversion on the back of QB Ryan Tannehill. With 3 seconds left, the Chiefs lined up for a game-tying field goal, only to be blocked by Titan Joshua Kalu to seal the upset, 35-32 Tennessee.
The Mercedes-Benz Superdome was rocking as the surging 7-1 Saints met their rival, the 1-7 Atlanta Falcons. However, records were thrown by the wayside as the first half was basically controlled by the Falcons, who went to the intermission leading 13-6. The Saints got a huge performance from wide receiver Michael Thomas, who hauled in 13 Drew Brees passes for 152 yards. But the rushing attack for the New Orleans Saints was non-existent. Atlanta outscored the Saints 13-3 in the second half and prevailed in commanding fashion 26-9. The Falcons sacked Brees 6 times in the win, led by Grady Jarrett's 2.5.
So both big upsets this week, really unexpected, especially with the Falcons, who have had this really unexpectedly harsh, bad year with the record, in contrast to the Saints, who have had this really nice record since losing Drew Brees.
Yeah, and really, unfortunately for Falcons fans, Dan Quinn might have just bought himself the rest of the season for the job, and he's probably going to have the head coaching job for Atlanta the rest of the year. But huge win. They showed that they have the talent and the ability to win games, but can they do it consistently?
That is the question. And honestly, you could ask the same question for the Chiefs, as it seemed to be reverting to some earlier years where we're always just this close from winning the important games that matter. There are a couple of teams competing in postseason play for the Crusaders. Why don't we check out what's coming up next in this week for Evangel Sports? Women's basketball will go against John Brown on Tuesday and Mount Mercy on Saturday.
Women's soccer continues their push in the postseason in the Hart Tournament semifinals against unbeaten and 5th-ranked Central Methodist.
Men's football has a very important game coming up against Baker on Saturday in Baldwin City, Kansas, and this game will determine who will make it to the postseason.
Men's basketball will travel to Mount Mercy in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, looking for a 3rd straight win on November 16th.
And so obviously some very important games with that Baker game coming up. Both of us sitting at 8-2. We're looking at whoever wins this game makes it to the postseason.
Yeah, that will determine who's got the best chance. There's still a chance that neither team makes it. But as you mentioned, really whoever wins this game will be headed to the NAIA playoffs.
And coming in with a huge chip on their shoulder after Baker advanced last year and the Crusaders were not selected to, this is a lot. There is a lot riding on this game. But that is all the time we have today for Sports Update. I'm Braden Parks.
And I'm Colin Hill. Be sure to join us next week as we bring you the latest in sports news. This has been Sports Update on EUTV.